Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I wonder if Chewbacca was ever Wookiee of the Year.
And I'm Gary, and today we're going to review and discuss Rookie of the Year, which released in 1993 from writer Sam Harper and director Daniel Stern. Ian, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows young Henry Rowengartner. He's just had an accident at school, and after his arm is healed, realizes that all of his tendons are super tight and that he can throw a baseball really, really fast. He's signed up to the Chicago Cubs, and as he heads around with Gary Busey playing Chet Steadman, the two of them realize that they can take the team all the way.
And with that, Rowengartner extends the Cubs to their longest winning streak of the season. 2.
So this is Daniel Stern's only directorial efforts, really, as a feature-length movie. He's had some other TV stuff, but this is his only film. And I was surprised to see that this film was actually directed by Daniel Stern, because going into this, I was like, not super excited for this one until I saw who was directing it. And apparently he was also inspired to make this film after working on Home Alone.
Right.
After working with Macaulay Culkin and seeing how dominating and demanding his dad was on set, controlling this child star.
Right.
And so he wanted to sort of help tell a story about a child that rises to fame and also has domineering and influencing, controlling adults in his life.
Wow. Okay.
And so he wanted to kind of tell that story. And at the same time, I'm like, well, it was also, 1993?
Yeah.
And we were already then in the wave of baseball movies. This goes back to the late 80s, though, with Major League in 1989. That was a Charlie Sheen one.
Yeah.
And then probably the big one, the one that started it all, was Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner in 1989.
Yeah.
And then we have The League of Their Own, the Tom Hanks one in 1992. Then Mr. Baseball in 1992 with Tom Selleck, followed by The Babe in 1992 with John Goodman, and then The Sandlot, or The Sandlot Kids, in 1993. It's often considered one of the best kids' sports movies of all time, followed by Rookie of the Year, the one we're going to get to soon.
Yeah.
Then Little Big League, Luke Edwards, that was 1994. Then a remake of Angels in the Outfield with Danny Glover, also in 1994. Followed by Cobb in 1994 with Tommy Lee Jones. Then The Scout, also in 1994 with Brendan Fraser. And then A Kid in King Arthur's Court in 1995, also with Thomas Ian Nicholas, reprising like almost his baseball character.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like the 90s were just a slew of baseball movies. It was kind of crazy, really.
Man, I always remember the Bad News Bears from the 70s. Like you said, baseball was pretty American, kind of homegrown. Every kid's been to Little League. Every kid around the corner has played in the team with everybody. So yeah, in America, it was like a whole big thing. For me, baseball movie, I'm like, I'm good. I can't even watch like English football movies.
Right.
You know? But I knew a few people who were really mad about Rookie of the Year. I mean, they'd watched it when they were younger and they were just mad about it. Oh yeah, it's one of the best kids movies ever. Really warms your heart. You've got to watch it. And I never did until this review. And like Gary, I was just like, okay, I'm kind of looking forward to it. It's a kids movie. I can kind of, I haven't wikied it. Not for at least 10 years. But, I kind of have the general idea of it's a Disney movie or a kids movie where it's just going to flow to this rising star, and then he's going to hit a turmoil, then he's going to come back up and save the day. And then I look and it's done by one of the Wet Bandits. I thought, hold on a minute, how's it got past me that Daniel Stern has directed a movie? And then you realise Daniel Stern's in the movie. And he's just this bumbling goofball trying to help the team as best as he can, but it's just this running gag of him getting locked in things, isn't it?
Right, yeah. Yeah, he's literally the comic relief character in the film. And I forgive how kind of tacky his character really is.
Yeah.
Although he did steal a couple of moments in the film, he was I was like, no, it didn't really work for me as much as I was hoping it to. But I was like, I still love Daniel Stern, so yeah, like, it's fine.
His character could have easily just not been there, but it was nice to see him put himself in front of the camera while also working behind it, because immediately off the bat, I didn't even realize this movie had John Candy in it.
Right.
And he's there, he's, commentating over the Chicago Cubs. They're playing this game, but they're on this massive losing streak.
They are, yeah. Well, apparently also they wanted, the studio asked Daniel Stern to have Joe Pesci as the commentator.
Right.
And Daniel Stern went, look, no. Like, I'd love to work with Joe Pesci. I'm going to work with him again in Home Alone 2. But
yeah.
It's just too similar to have him here. So no.
Oh, man.
So
him
then,
and John Candy.
But John Candy turned up. He was just wandered on set. And he was like, hey, Daniel Stern, what are you filming? Oh, all right. Can I be in it? Like, yeah. Just, like, hey, he was also from Home Alone. But it wasn't an obvious connection. So John Candy, I mean, he's uncredited in the film because, well, he wasn't supposed to be in it.
Yeah.
So I was just like, but that was my big shock coming into this film. A, it was directed by Daniel Stern. And B, it's a hidden John Candy cameo.
yeah. So that's it. For me, I'm already like, okay, I'm warmed up movie. I'm ready to go. Let's see Henry for the first time. Young Thomas Ian Nicholas, who we... for a lot of us in the 90s, if you didn't catch Rookie of the Year, you caught him in American Pie.
Kevin!
And pretty much all the American Pie movies. He's done some other stuff. He's worked his absolute ass off, but Rookie of the Year and American Pie are probably his most standout roles.
Absolutely.
And Henry is trying his best. He's happy-go-lucky boy messing around with his friends. You don't know much about his dad, but he's, being raised by his mum, Mary.
And well, Mary kind of instills that love of the sport into him, and throughout the film, we find that she's peppered him with stories about, the dad that doesn't exist, and says that he was a sportsman, he was into baseball, and so that's why Henry's kind of wanting to follow in his dad's footsteps, even though he never met him.
Yeah, but young Henry, he's no good at baseball.
No, not really.
Get it!
Pick up the ball!
It's that moment where his mum throws the sunscreen. It's like, it's a big moment just to see if he catch it. And no. Fail.
It's like when he's trying to catch the ball in the game and his hat gets knocked and he obviously turns around the wrong way.
He can't find the ball on the floor. He throws it in the wrong direction. It's just like, okay. So we are literally going to be raising this character up from nothing.
Yeah. I've always got to jump to Dan Hedaya.
Oh, wow, yeah. I mean, we just came from his overacting in Commando, or his dodgy accent, and now we have him in here, and I was like, oh, Dan Hedaya, like, every time I see you lately, you're just chewing up the scenery and overacting. Yes. It's like, I'm trying to... It forced me to go, can I remember a serious role that Dan Hedaya was in? Because right now, you're just a goofball.
He eats it up. In this, it reminded me of the character he plays in The Addams Family.
Right.
Where he's just after the money. He's in charge of the company while his dad or his granddad is the actual owner of the company, of the baseball team. And Dan Hedaya is like really worried. They're running out of money. They're going to lose the franchise. So he needs the next big star.
Yeah.
And he's got no faith in Chet Rocket, played by Gary Busey, who's this... aging baseball star. He's had his best days, and now he's just trying to obviously stay in the team. But we're cutting back to Henry going to school, seeing that girl Carly, who he kind of fancies. And this is your standard kind of boy growing up, going to school with his friends, feeling uncomfortable, feeling those strange feelings, hoping that something will come along and obviously change his life around, like we all wanted at that age.
Yeah.
And for Henry, it comes when one of the other boys smacks a baseball out in the playground and he's running to catch it because he wants to show off to this girl, and he slips on another ball and lands on his arm. Pretty simple, really.
Yeah.
Pretty standard.
So I'm like, oh, this is where the miracle happens, I guess. But so we have a summer montage of him in this cast.
Yeah.
There was a small gag that I liked where all the pupils got their arms raised.
Hi,
they all put their arms
Henry.
down. But the real moment is obviously after the summer almost, when the cast is being removed. And he ends up smacking the doctor in the face.
Yeah.
Because he was surprised at how the tendons in his arm had kind of... had fused themselves together after being held in that position for however many months it was.
yeah. Like they're super tight. So anything he reaches back for is just going to go, super fast?
Right.
Super hard? I don't really understand the science. I don't think I'm meant to.
Well, I mean, it's beyond plausible. So we're going into fantasy land, and that is it with this film's premise, is that if you're not with it, like, stop.
I mean,
stop now.
You always tell me off for overthinking these things and looking too far, so I just kind of accepted that this guy was going to be pretty good at baseball.
Well, we find that out when he ends up going to a Cubs game where there's literally no one in the stands.
Yeah.
Like, they're already losing every game of the season, and the ball ends up over by Henry, and he gets to throw it back. And there's a CGI baseball goes flying across, and the guy catches it, and everyone's like,
My
wow.
God, yeah.
Who is that boy?
Yeah, so Dan Hedaya is now like rushing around trying to get people to find out who threw that ball. We need to sign him straight away. And like we said, the plausibility goes completely out the window at this point because they find Henry, but they are met by Jack, played by Bruce Altman, who is Mary's new boyfriend, or the guy that she's at least seeing. I mean, it was 3 weeks she was seeing him before he busted his arm, and then at least a couple of months for summer. So they've been together for at least a couple of months, I suppose.
Yeah, but the vibes that he's putting out in that first sequence in the film, you're just like, yeah. I mean, unfortunately, he's got a career of just playing sleazeballs. So the moment he turned up, I was like, you're a bad guy.
You're a bad guy. Yeah.
And the way he's acting around the mother as well, he was just, very uncomfortable.
It was the same thing, same way of thought I had with Dan Hedaya. I was like, bad guy. And so then when him and Jack got together and they're like, sign this contract, let's get him onto the baseball team as soon as we can. He's not going back to school.
No.
We're not even going to ask the biological mother about this. We're just going to literally take this boy who's, Henry. I got to admit, I did get really annoyed every time the camera kind of zoomed in on Henry's face, and he was kind of like, huh?
Yeah, it's like he turned to the camera like with a wink and a nudge, like fourth wall breaking, and it was a little bit annoying. I honestly, there was a sequence early on where one of the kids says, "Shut up, Henry," and I was like, "Yeah, please!" Like, you're supposed to be the main character, but you're kind of annoying me right now.
Yeah.
Okay, Taser, let her rip. Throw in the cheddar. Come on, right in the kitchen. Come on, get in the big, high, stinky...
Would you shut up?
But I guess that does settle down a little bit. But then it's because of his antics on the field where he's just going, nah, 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 nah. It's just like, oh, God, yeah, like, it's just really childish. But I was like, inner child in me would love it.
Yeah.
But it's still at the same time, I'm like, shut up.
Yeah, it also felt like they were trying to balance a few too many things in this movie all at once. Like we said, we've got the Henry storyline going with his tendons and him being signed to the team. But he then meets Chet Stedman, Gary Busey's character, and he's enthralled by this.
It's his idol.
Yeah, this idol character. He's like, oh my God, you're a star. I need you to throw these really good strikes. I don't want to be better than you. And so then you're kind of looking at the film from Chet's point, and you're like, oh, I kind of want him to get his moment now, but I want to get it because Henry's helping them get it. And, you want the team to do well so that they don't lose the franchise, but you don't want Dan Hedaya and Jack to get the money. So you're watching all in what, an hour and a half?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was the thing for me, is that, we have the underdog story, of course, of the team. We have Chet, who was a star, who's now washed up and injured and can't deliver anymore. And we have the whole sequence where Henry's like, will you please sign my baseball? He's like, I don't do signatures, autographs. And everyone's like, it's where the relationship's going to go. It's going to build from here, and they will actually become very close friends, which is great. But one thing that was a little bit, not really a criticism, maybe a nitpick, really, is that in these types of films, I expect to get to know the whole team. Yeah. We don't. We only really get to know the coach, Chet, and Henry. The rest of the team, they're just kind of there.
Yeah, he has a little thing with Stan Oki, played by Neil Flynn, who I recognise as the janitor from Scrubs. He's done some really good TV work. But even then, like, Stan kind of acts like this kid's going to come in and take his job, but if it was filmed, it's not in the movie, because once Henry starts getting strikeouts and taking on, and they're beating the team, Stan's like, oh yeah, we're buddies now. And it immediately, the team starts by not liking Henry and thinking it's stupid to have a child there, which it is. But as soon as he starts helping them win, oh yeah, all bets are off. Let's just get him on a coach. Let's fill him with, sodas, and take him on the road with us. We won't even worry about his safety or anything. They embrace him, but it does just feel odd.
Well, it feels. I mean, it's an escapist fantasy. Isn't it? It's like an extended dream sequence. But that's why kids love these movies, because it is pure escapism where they get to go and then beat the adults.
Yeah,
playing sports.
But it's like when you balance it back, then when Henry is obviously spending far too much time with the team, winning games, he's not spending time with his actual friends, being a kid and trying to make a boat. That boat would never stay afloat. No way. I don't care, movie. I don't care how you try to convince me. Like, even when they actually do get the boat to work and Henry and his friends reconcile and get together, they take him out. All that smoke coming out the engine.
Yeah,
you've got those two child actors sat there. I'm like...
Yeah, but again, like, I was like, man, if I was a kid, there's pre-internet, some lousy video games, fine. We'd get out there and build a boat. Like, if you've got the wreckage of one, it would be a yearly project. And it's kind of cool that they do reconcile, because you go through all the tropes of this type of movie.
Yeah,
and it's nice. And then they go to pick up the girls as well, and they've got all the snacks in the back.
They get carbon monoxide poisoning as well. It's wonderful, wonderful. The baseball stuff was filmed really quite well, I thought.
Yes.
Especially when they do get the games in there, when they're inside the actual stadium with all the fans on the stand. You got John Candy just screaming through the commentary, which is just always awesome. And the antics that Henry brings are very childish, but it's nice how the team warms with him when he's, like we said, when he's getting them to beat. And he's just got that one nemesis. I was very surprised when he threw that first ball at that major nemesis that he meets at the beginning, and the guy actually hit it.
Yeah,
I was like, oh wow, movie. I didn't actually expect Henry to have
I can
work
hit
up
fastballs all day.
Yeah.
And Henry's just like, oh crap, like my arm's not going to be good enough, even though it's super powerful and I can throw over 100 miles an hour.
Yeah,
I cannot get past this guy. And and then that guy disappears from the movie.
Yeah, doesn't bother really coming back until the end for that final game that the team have to win for their big championship. But up to this point, Henry had been used to sign for what? Pepsi-Cola.
He does Pepsi commercials, Reeboks. And,
and Jack is just kind of using him. And it's when the mum Mary starts to actually get with Chet. The two of them start to warm over Henry. And Chet recognises that actually Henry shouldn't be here. He should be being at home taking care of his mum. That they try to fight back against Jack. And I guess this is a big confrontational situation where Jack's just like, we're all moving to New York. I've already signed the contract. He's mine. And Mum ends up knocking him out the front door.
It's great because I mean, it's a moment to cheer in the movie because that guy is such a douche.
Yeah.
He's got it coming.
He's half mine!
I mean, she literally punched him so hard I could literally tell it was the stunt double going down the steps. But it was quite a highlight in the film. But I think that was something that Daniel Stern heavily wanted to comment on it as well, because he was being sold out from under him from the team that he wanted to play with, and then being shipped off to New York to play for them, which is of course the rivals as well.
Yeah. Which is nice when the actual owner of the baseball team, he meets up with Henry.
That guy's Eddie Bracken, which is the Duncan's toy store owner in Home Alone 2.
Yeah.
There's another Home Alone connection.
Yeah. And he meets up with Henry and Mary, and Henry's just like, look, I won't be signing again. I'm going home. And he confronts Dan Hedaya, doesn't he? And he's just like, what's been going on? What were you trying to do? You were trying to ship him off. And Dan's just like, no, I wasn't doing anything. I love it when, Dan Hedaya spends most of his movie being this really, evil slime ball, and then he's squirming at the end like
he's whimpering like a scolded dog.
It's awesome, Dan Hedaya.
Soon as I take care of a little business.
That's because we see him then dishing out hot dogs in the stands in the nosebleed section.
Because his boss finds out that the hot dogs are like $3. He's like, what? That's far too expensive. But Henry goes out to start throwing his magic fastballs, and he slips, and actually it repairs itself. So now he can't throw fastballs, and he has to get the team together, and they have to come up with an idea, some antics to actually help them win. Because this is actually after Chet had thrown all of his best baseball throws he'll probably ever throw in his career, because you actually get the last one where he rips his tendon.
That's right.
And you have that great moment between him and the coach. I didn't actually get the coach's name, but the coach who was always getting Henry's name wrong.
Martinella.
Yeah.
Coach Martinella.
Hello, son. I'm looking for Henry Ruhlenfurter. Raffenboozer.
Rosenbagger! Gardenhoser!
Hey, way to go, run mucker! One more.
Ruhlengroder!
Ron Gardner, you're going in.
What'd he call me?
Oh, this kid is making me crazy.
And him and Gary Busey's character do have this kind of little moment where he's like, I'm pulling you off, and Gary Busey's like, one more. I've got one more in me, coach. I've got one more in me. So by this stage of the movie, I mean, yes, it's heavily predictable, and yes, I'm 40 and not 10 years old anymore, so I'm losing, like, my inner child is long dead of playing video games years ago, but I'm still warming to this movie. So when they have these final little antics and he comes up against his nemesis again and he actually gets him out, you know,
Well, it was a cool moment, but now up until that moment as well, like, I thought when the moment his arm is now back to normal, the miracle, the gift, whatever is gone, I was like, okay, so now he's going to have to rely on things that he's learned with the team, things that he's inherited from Chet, or he's now going to have to use raw skill and talent to actually win and prove that he didn't need the miracle arm the whole time.
Cunning.
And they don't do that.
He's cunning.
He literally uses tricks and foul plays and weird ball things. I'm like, I don't know the rules of baseball, but I'm like, I'm sure this would have been disqualified. And if any player tried to pull this shit, that's the last we'd ever see of them.
I think so too.
I was like, it's fine, I guess. It's this quirky version of baseball that I don't understand. But yeah, it's just like he would have been taken off the field a long time ago. And but the thing is, the film was also quite nicely foreshadowing this moment, going all the way back to when the mum threw that sunscreen.
Right.
It was the same kind of throw that he then does to throw against him. And it's also because the moment before that, he's playing around with his glove.
Yeah.
And he peels back one of the patches or one of the stitches and reads his mother's name in there.
Yeah.
And so that's when the penny drops. And I was like, that's actually a really sweet, cool moment where he realizes it wasn't his dad that was the sports person. It was his mum.
Yeah.
Who was also playing baseball. And that connection, that mother-son love, it beamed through both the actors so sincerely and sweetly that you can't help but feel something at that moment.
Yeah.
And so then when that ball goes flying over and the New York Mets guys, his tongue's waggling everywhere and he just whiffs completely.
Yeah.
And then the Cubs win, and then they go on to win the series, and he gets the ring, which he flaunts at the end shot.
Yeah, flaunts
it's like,
that.
yeah, okay, this is sweet.
You're pretty sure that Chet has got with Mary, you know, and over their love of baseball, the three of them have probably got together as a nice family, and, you know, the Cubs have gone on with their victory. It's a great moment, I
was going to say, the film is shot very well. It's actually a very good-looking film. I was very surprised. I was like, I need to find out who was the cinematographer for this film, and it was Jack Green, who had shot films like Serenity, Unforgiven, and Twister.
Nice, yeah.
I was like, those are really stunning films.
Movies, yeah.
And then to top it all off, this film, I mean, of course, if you're going to do a 90s sports movie, you get Bill Conti. You know, he did Karate Kid and Rocky, and now the Rookie of the Year. I will say, I think the soundtrack is nowhere near as strong as it was as any of his other movies, but it's totally serviceable here, and by an industry legend as well. So it all comes together in quite a nice feel-good package by the end.
It does.
Yeah. Ian, what were your favourite scenes?
Well, I mean, most of mine involved John Candy whenever he was on the screen and he was screaming at the commentary about, you know, trying to get his buddy Eddie to try and fix the booth as well because everything was breaking and he really wants the team to do really, really well. So, you know, every time John Candy's on screen, it was absolutely awesome. I did love the games. You know, when they were actually out on the field, Henry's first game, when he walks out there and he's just in shock and awe about this huge stadium. Everybody's there to see him. As the film goes on, they're just screaming, we want Henry, we want Henry. You know, and the teams are scared to face him. And like you said, he's got to learn how to play the game properly. And you kind of wish that had come towards the end, but once he loses his magic power, there was no way he was going to beat these actual professionals. He needed the cunning. So that final game as well, where he is just like, you know, making faces at people, and he's running to first base, and then he's, you know, just whiffing the ball at the guy at the end. You're laughing. You're having a great time. Dan Hedaya, Gary Busey. I mean, a lot of their sequences were friggin' awesome.
The winning half is fearless.
Fearless. Right.
The have-to is inside. It's where the fear lives.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Could you start over again?
There wasn't really any major scenes that I liked, but yeah, Daniel Stern getting caught in the hotel room doors.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
And when he gets out, his arm's also stuck up, and I was like, "Oh, is it gonna?"
Yeah, I was hoping he'd be no.
And then he also ends up getting stuck in the cage as well with all the sports equipment at the end. But I also like the sequence where he's hanging out with Henry, and he's like, "Look, isn't it great? Everything's free, everything. And look, you're on the plane. You get all this food, and you know what? You can take it and wrap it up and take it home for later." It's like, what? I love the sequence where they're at this party, and he walks up and he's like, "Excuse me, ladies. No, please get out of the way. I want to get to the pinball machine behind you." Yeah, just little moments like that where I'm just like, yeah, okay. So even though it was really goofy and silly, it's Daniel Stern, so all forgiven, really.
Nice.
Let the big dog eat!
There is one line that made me laugh out loud as well, and that's when Henry's getting booed, and the mum sat there next to the club owner, and he turns to her and he says, she says, "Oh, he must feel horrible," and he says, "That's all right. In Chicago, we get used to this sort of thing." It's like, yeah, Chicago Cubs never had a good track record for like the longest time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, that was a genuine like funny moment for me.
Oh, he must feel so horrible.
It's all right. In Chicago, we get used to this sort of thing.
There's a moment where the mum's cheering. She's watching her Henry on the TV.
Yeah.
And she gets distracted by some other guy. I think she's supposed to be working.
Yeah, I think she's working, yeah.
But she's like, "Oh, wait, my son's on TV." And she ends up cheering so actively that she bangs her head
on the
light switch, which was obviously an accident because you can tell when she sits down, she's rubbing her head and she goes, "Oh, shit." But it's muted out. Because, yeah. So, yeah, a little moment like that.
I really like the sequences where she was swearing, but it would cut, and it would cut to Gary Busey, and he would say like the lighter version of what she's swearing.
Yeah.
She's getting so into the game. Yeah.
Oh my god, oh my god.
Oh my god, oh my god.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god! Ah! You almost killed him, you stupid mother!
Mother of God in heaven.
There's the sequence I found quite funny when, again, back to Daniel Stern's Brickma character,
Yeah.
where they're talking about how to deal with aches and pains, and they're like, well, some have got ice packs and some like hot packs, and Brickma's just like, well, I've mastered the best of both. How about you melt and heat up the ice? Best of both worlds. It's like, oh my god, it's so stupid.
That's right, hot ice. I heat up the ice cubes. It's the best of both worlds.
The funky butt loving is what the doctor says when he's holding his nose and being
Funky
smacked in the
butt
face.
lovin'.
It's like funky butt loving.
Funky butt loving. Did he say funky butt loving?
And yeah, I guess like I'm a big fan of Gary Busey, and I mean, other than the fake mustache, he was really sincere and genuine.
Yeah.
Obviously, his first appearance, he's just growling at the camera, but you do warm up to him as his character sort of warms up to Henry and then to Mary as well, and becomes a protective, fatherly figure in his life. And their bond that builds throughout the film as well, I guess, would be the most satisfying for me to watch.
Yeah.
Well, Ian, do you recommend a Rookie of the Year?
Yes, I totally recommend Rookie of the Year. It's like a Sunday afternoon in a movie form. I don't really understand baseball like that, but, you know, I understand what it's like to be a kid growing up, you know, wanting to be special, getting this kind of special power. You've got Dan Hedaya, you've got Gary Busey, you've got John Candy. It's just a fun movie to follow, and, yeah, John Candy.
The hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also going to be recommending the Rookie of the Year. I think it's worth a watch, especially for baseball fans and those looking for a fun, family-friendly film that kids are going to really enjoy. It's very light-hearted. It's fantastical in its premise, but also wholesome, whilst dealing with childhood fame and shady managers looking to take advantage of a young person. It's very vanilla. The story beats are predictable, yet totally serviceable for what this is. It is, however, made all the better by a brilliant cast and a wonderful supporting cast whom really bring this story to life. Thomas Ian Nicholas was great, along with Gary Busey and Amy Morton, and it's always a pleasure to see John Candy, especially when he wasn't listed on the credits. Bill Conti has delivered a good score, not to the heights of Karate Kid or Rocky, but it really builds that tension and excitement to the games and to the drama and the comedy. Jack Green captured all the action well as the cinematographer, and it's a good-looking film with a great pace and good editing as well. The comedy is hit or miss, but the upbeat tone and playful nature makes it a real feel-good film for a good Sunday afternoon. Much better than I expected this to be. This one for sure is worth the watch. The Chicago Cubs needed a miracle. They got Henry Rosen Lincoln Muckin Nuckin Chuckin Water. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
Little